24 states in the United States, including the District of Columbia, only 24 states out of all of those are teaching sex education required by law. All of these other states are not teaching it. And they should be, because it lowers abortion rates and Unplanned Parenthood. It informs our teens of what they're doing, and it teaches respect and consent, something that our country desperately needs to know. Look at these percentages. 1.64% versus 2.63%. These are abortion rates in California and New York, according to the Guttmacher Institute in 2019. The only difference between the two is in California, it is compulsory for sex education to be taught in every school system, public or private. Just think about all those babies that we could be saving. And no, I'm not talking about the fetuses in the womb. I'm talking about these babies. Babies that are forced to carry other babies inside of them without knowing the true consequences of their actions when they're in the process of creating the baby. And they have to face ridicule and do it alone, raise a child by themselves. And if they decide not to keep the child, or they decide not to get an abortion, where does the child go? In the foster care system. Our foster care system is corrupt. It is overpopulated, underworked, and underpaid. In 32.8%, thousands of children are getting abused. 32.8% of the homes. In 10.1% of those, all of the foster care homes, children are facing physical neglect. In 9.4, they're facing physical neglect and physical abuse. In 5.6, they're facing physical abuse. In 4%, they're facing sexual abuse along with other kinds of maltreatment. And in 3.7%, they're facing sexual abuse. All of those babies are going through so much that they wouldn't have to be put through if it would have started at the parents. If those teenagers would have known what they were doing when they did it, or how to avoid it, these percentages would be exponentially lower than what they would. And these are all percentages from literal foster care alumni studies. The foster care system itself is outing these percentages, meaning that a lot of the abuse that these children are facing is going unnoticed and unreported. If teens are going to have sex anyway, we might as well let them know what they're doing. If they're informed properly, we wouldn't have to worry about the children in the foster care homes, because the children in the foster care homes would not be as high of a number as they are today. And on the topic of informing the teens and how teens have sex anyway, 56.7% of teens by the time they reach their senior year of high school have said that they have had sex at least once in their life. That's over half of teens. And a lot of people want to believe that their little girl or little boy isn't having sex or has never had sex and is going to stay abstinent until they get married. And that's just by the time they reach senior year. Imagine what they do whenever they get into college and you have that freedom. All of those pregnancies that happen because they weren't informed on how to avoid it or how to be safe with it if they're having it anyway. "42% of parents say that they have talked to their teens many times about how to avoid sex or how to have safe sex. But only 27% of teens agree with that statistic and agree that their parents have talked to them about it many times. In fact, 34% of all teenagers have said that their parents have never told them about sex, never informed them how to have safe sex. And this was a research done by JFK Custom Research, LLC, over 3 years. That's how long they were compiling these statistics. And honestly, I would have much preferred for my parents to tell me about sex, or for me to learn about it in a classroom rather than finding out on the internet or from my friends' personal experiences. If we learn from teachers and parents, we can also be taught consent. And like I said earlier, consent is something we desperately need. If we learn consent, this number wouldn't be so high. 37.5 rapes out of 100,000 people in California versus 33.8%, or not percent, but rapes in 100,000 people. The difference between the two? California has seen an exponential decrease in the amount of rapes since sex education became compulsory 5 years ago, versus New York that has seen an increase. And by an increase, I don't mean by just a couple. I quite literally mean from 23.1 in 2017 to 33.8 in 2020. We're taught that no means no, and that's fine and dandy until we learn how to manipulate. We need to learn consent. Consent is knowing that it's okay to say no at any given point, but we wouldn't know that until we're taught it. And I get the whole boys will be boys argument, but boys should be held accountable for their action. And I know a lot of you in here are boys. I totally get that, but you will be held accountable for your action. And a lot of people are going to disagree with it. It's awkward, it takes up tax dollars, parents should be teaching their kids and not the teachers, and kids shouldn't even be having sex at this age. Well, it's more awkward to take care of a teenager that is pregnant. Okay. It's more awkward to be taking care of a teenager that's pregnant in your high school rather than just giving the money to the schools to educate their kids properly. And it's, where are those tax dollars going? Because they're certainly not going to the foster care systems. And if parents should be teaching their kids, but teachers should also be teaching it because parents are not educated properly on how to teach their kids. Honestly, sex education should be compulsory because it benefits everyone. There are no downfalls, and I don't care what your personal opinions are. I don't care what my personal opinions are. It doesn't matter because the statistics behind my point back it.